So welcome back. Today I'm going to talk with you about why you should pick up Feng Wei and why he's one of the most interesting characters in Tekken 7. We're going to briefly talk about his strengths and his weaknesses, and I'm going to tell you when I picked the character up. This character used to be my main character in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which I partnered up with Yoshimitsu. And I really liked the character. In Season 1 of Tekken 7, I kind of dropped him because I played every character. I kind of dropped Yoshi as well for some reason, and I just played with other characters. But he's still to this day, even though I didn't put a lot of time in, my best character. If I play a first of 5 against a good enemy, a good opponent, I always use Feng Wei. He's very interesting to play, and I will show you in this video why. And he was my first Tekken God Prime actually, and the easiest to get, like 160 wins online. This guy is just a beast. So let's go into it. First thing to note about the character, he doesn't play like every other character. First and foremost, he doesn't have a down forward 2, and he has some standout weaknesses without having standout strengths, in my opinion. So he's a well-rounded character overall, but he doesn't have those two strength parts of the character that just force you to play one way. Like if you're fighting a Devil Jin, you know what he's supposed to do and what he's going for. But the character is just so good that it's very, very hard to defend against it. Feng Wei doesn't have those tools. Feng Wei is a character that has a decent package of poking, a decent keep-out game, decent standing punishment, but nothing outstanding. Like he's not a specialist in any regard, he's just well-rounded, which makes him very fun to use, because if you're a player who can adapt on the fly and who can change up playstyle in between rounds, between being very, very aggressive in their face and then start to keep out when you have the life lead, or when you see a player abusing certain properties of his character, then start to counteract that with different playstyle, which is very, very good in my opinion. So Feng Wei, in my opinion, is very good in the hands of a player who has a decent understanding of his opponent. Now we come to his core strength. I think his biggest strength is his compact pack of poking tools. So he has a very, very big, not big, but very good arsenal of very fast mids that lead to plus frames on hit, of course, and together combined, they are actually very not threatening. You're dealing chip damage, but they set up his very quick counter hit tools, which get weak at higher frames, but at low frames, like for 10 frame or something, they're actually very decent, which makes the package very good. And he has a lot of delayable strings, strings that just lead to free damage on counter hit. What keeps him back though is that those aren't proper launches, you just get a free shoulder like this. It's decent damage, but of course characters in Tekken 7 want their, if you have good wall game for instance, you want the combo, you want the wall damage. And that is what Feng is kind of lacking in, and good players are hesitant to press buttons because he doesn't have a knockdown low on normal hit. Of course, if you're in range 0, he does have one. The next thing is he has very, very good tools of evasion. Like his evasive tools are very, very good, and he's very hard to pin down. He looks so manly and so honest, but actually he's super slippery. Like he has a very good Sabaki in 1+2. He has up 4-2, which is a safe mid, very close to Jin's up 4-2, with the only difference that it doesn't score a knockdown and it's only +3 on it all the time. And on whiff this is death, so be aware of that. But if you're, for instance, at the wall and you sidestep up and you press up 4-2, you're actually almost at the back of the opponent. So in that sense, it's very, very good. And in poking wars, where people like to down for 1U and jab you, this is very decent. The next one is his backswing blow, which is a hot topic. The problem is it doesn't do anything on normal hit, and it's very slow at 25 frames. It does crush for some reason lows, because he does put his feet back Not reliably though, but if we do them immediately, it does. It crushes mids and highs, but it only grants you a knockdown where even like the Oki situation is not that good. On normal hit, you still don't get a combo. You get a decent situation for yourself where you can force big damage if your opponent doesn't know about it, but it's a mind game afterwards. And for a minus 15 backswing blow, this is actually not as good. Like, there are way better backswing blows in this game. But at the wall, this is like super sick because it wall splats, and I really like this backswing blow. I will show you in a different video why. The next thing that I really like is back 3+4. Back 3+4 used to be actually kind of broken in Season 1 because it had auto block, and if you backdash twice and did it, you were like in no man's land and could whiff punish with the 3 very easily. I still abuse this. I use it a lot in Poke Wars, but the way how I see it now is if you're in a Poke War, you want either to crush the jab with the 1 or to whiff punish with the 2 if they did a small move. But against characters like Jack and Dragunov and Kazumi, for instance, this is a very good tool if they try to approach you with a Y running 2, or for Jack, for instance, forward 1. If you do one backdash into another backdash into back tempo, a lot of times I force them to whiff their forward 1 for Jack, for instance, or their down forward 2. If they use a Y running 2, it's super easy to whiff punish because they're still approaching me after the move isn't active anymore, which is sick. And then these matchups, the move becomes very viable. Up close, I have to say I don't use it as much because I'm more focused on his counter hit tools up close than on evasion. But you can use it in this regard as well. The next one is his whiff punishment, which is very simple and very good at lower frames. So his shoulder is actually not that special anymore. There are better whiff punishes in this game. It hits from around 2.6. Grants you a knockdown, which isn't ideal for Feng because you can do this, but if you space it right, you get a very nice connection there. But it's nothing too special, and there are characters like Jonamitsu, for instance, who do forward 2-3 into Oki, which I think should be a thing for Feng as well, but it just isn't. But why I love this move is if you backdash, it's very natural to hit someone with a back input. And if you bounded your buttons or bind it, it's very easy to whiff punish with this. And for instance, sometimes when I play Lily, yeah, I do play this shitty character because she's kind of fun sometimes, and I want to whiff punish something after sidestepping with 3-1 because he whiffed the jab or something, I get sidestep 3 instead of sidestep normal 3. So I have to do sidestep 3+4. And this used to kill me because sometimes I had rage and it came sidestep rage hard, which is very shitty. But with Feng, you just press back to cancel every motion you're doing and boom, you're gonna get your punish. Very good. And if you punish someone using a hop kick with this, you're gonna feel so good, man. It's a good punisher. But the problems after this, the punishers are very whack. The next one is a thing that is pretty overlooked, I think. Feng's wall game, in my opinion, is one of the best in Tekken 7. There are a lot of characters with crazy wall game, but Feng really can make you pay without himself taking too much risk. Lows are kind of risky, but his mids and his counter hit game is so good at the wall that you can score huge damage. And for instance, this move is like godlike at the wall on Wake Up. It's so good. If you can land a counter hit against the wall with the right move, it just hurts so much. He has the Demon Paw to wall splat. There's so many good tools. And if you need the damage on Wake Up, if you force it right, because after this combo, it's not an easy mix-up for sidestep 4. You have to sidestep, roll dash, sidestep to make it consistent. But if you do that, you can score big damage even without rage if you need it. And there are very awkward moves that get very decent at the wall for him. I already recorded a whole video for this and I will launch it, I think, in 2 days. The last thing I want to cover here is Feng has good Oki. This move alone is very, very good because the frames vary so much that you really don't, the opponent doesn't know and you don't know what's happening. He has decent Oki on his grabs, his 1+2 ones mostly, but he has decent Oki on his grabs, and at the wall this grab actually is very annoying as well. And overall, just this move makes very, very good Oki situations appear a lot if you can space it right. He has very, very good Oki after his combos. If you end them like this and do this, you can get a lot of situations that are very advantageous for you. And after a lot of knockdown, knockdown, you have to dash up and do this, and it's a very good tool to cover everything. You have very slow tools that are good on hit, on block, and on counter hit. So on wake up, he's very, very good, and he has a lot of small moves that hit grounded, which is also very, very good, or hit side rollers. Just a lot of things that you can do. One thing I want to add though is a lot of people say that he has a very, very hard time to approach, but I want to really emphasize this move right here. A roll dash into while standing 1 is, in my opinion, from my testing, I'm not a pro player, but one of my favorite tools to approach, really. It's very unfortunate that it is very open to getting counter hit, but man, this is so good. Now we come to the cons, and he has really, really outstanding ones. So you're taking a character with identity, like the main man would say. The first one is he has super pure while standing punishment. And it starts actually very good. His while standing force +7. And you're like, what? That's not that bad, right? +7 is above average. But why does it have pushback? Yeah, you +7, but you want to be at range 0 with Feng Wei, not at range 2.5 almost, where most of your tools aren't gonna hit if you punish something at like max range. Of course, I can do lows here, but this is not what I want. I want to be like this all the time and rather be like this, a little bit closer, and this pushes them away even though it gives good frames. And they buffed actually as while standing 1-2, which was necessary because this was one of the worst 14 frame punishers in the game for while standing. It has decent range mid with an extension, but it is +1. I'm punishing you and I am +1 afterwards, and it doesn't deal a lot of damage. It doesn't deal a knockdown. Now it's 13 frames, which made matchups like Dragunov and Kazumi a little bit better, but still, +1 means nothing. Even if I'm right in your face, I can back 1 you, okay, but that's it. Online, this doesn't matter because people will eat back 1 at the beginning, but in a higher level of play, this is really, really shitty. And now we come to something even bigger, which covers 2 of his main weaknesses. His while standing free for a punish has very crappy range. It hits from 2.3, 2.2 actually, which is super shitty, which means that, for instance, that's why I used Akuma. Down 4 on max range is safe against, is not punishable by while standing free. You actually have to be a madman to crouch catch the 4-3-4 if you completely godlike, or you have to crouch cancel shoulder, which you will do a lot against sweeps if you're blocking them at max range, which is super shitty. And then comes his hop kick, which comes to the next topic. Feng has the worst hop kick with Armor King in the entire game. This hop kick hits from range 2. That's it. If you're at range 2.1, it will whiff. And you know what that means? That people that are using -15 frame moves are safe against you. I will show you a small example. So, this string is launch punishable, but not for us. It is -17, but there is no way that I can launch this. Even if I dash up like a madman, it's not possible. this is a shoulder punish for me. That's it. There now we have this, which is better because it keeps them standing in their face. That is what we want. Okay, I get it. But minus 17, bro. Other people will get 95 damage and wall game afterwards, and we get plus 13 and 30 damage. That's why at high level of play, this character is seen as weak. Because this Punisher is so shitty, and he doesn't matter how good you are, there are certain moves like Paul's 4-4-2-2 that you cannot launch. It doesn't matter what you do, which is very, very frustrating. And this is like, this comes for a lot of his tools that have very limited range. Like poor jab range. Punishers live from their versatility depending on range. And for instance, if you block something that leaves you, at 2.1 with jabs, you have to do 1-2. There's nothing else you can do. Just poor range in general for a lot of his key moves that can be avoided if the opponent is sharp enough. If you're +3 and someone knows how to backdash you correctly, your key moves like down for 1 and back 4 can whiff, which will lead to a lot of pain for you. So you really have to place them well. The next one, he's very vulnerable to sidestep left. A lot of his key tools are beatable with sidestep left. This problem is rather compensated by a lot of Feng players with using 1-2 or abusing homing moves. Not abusing, but using them very frequently. What I suggest you is, instead of using homing moves all the time, when you know that your opponent most likely gonna step left, just realign with them. If you 0, stop mashing back 1 and just realign with them. You're both neutral, and let's go from there. Because this brings me to one thing that is really controversial. The character has very good homing tools. This has super good tracking, is super fast at 12 frames, even though it has shitty range, but it should have shitty range. And now it leaves you closer on hit, so you can actually do something with your +2 or +3 at max range. But the problem is, if they block this, and with Feng, for instance, in the poking war, normal hit lows won't do too much for you, and they're risky. So if they block, for instance, this or this, you're either at -9 or -10, which means that your turn is completely over. No stepping, no nothing. So if you rely on his homing moves, you're gonna find yourself in situations where you're that minus that you have to take a complete 50-50 afterwards. The only exception is sidestep 2, which is a high. Sidestep 2 is very, very good, don't get me wrong, but with the sidestep, it's pretty telegraphed, even though it's decent range and it's +9 on normal hit. But the problem is it also creates a little bit of space, so if they backdash, your backturn mix-up is already gone. So it's not that good in that sense. So what I emphasize is rather stepping and realigning with them instead of abusing homing moves all the time. The next one is mediocre juggle damage, which kind of like, I'm on the defense on that. He now, with the new combo routes, gets around 60 damage from his normal hit launchers while having decent wall carry. Very, very decent wall carry. Not a Lee, but a decent wall carry. The problem is that he just gets outshined by so many characters nowadays. They just have more damage or more carry. Nowadays everyone has to be a Lee to get some recognition for wall damage, and Feng isn't that. He doesn't have those crazy juggling tools. You can maximize his wall carry very easily if you're not recording for YouTube, with even one more jab here, but the wall carry is there, but the damage just isn't. But he makes up for it with a very, very good wall game, in my opinion. And in the open, you rather go for something that I showed you before. Rather go for a better Oki situation, sacrificing damage and doing something like this than doing his max damage. The next one is approaching tools are very limited. If you're around here, you don't really have too many options that are viable for the opponent. You have quarter circle forward 1, which is very telegraphed, and even though it's a pure 50-50 between this and that, those aren't tools that you use to come in. You're +2 here, but it pushes them back where your +2 don't matter. And if they get blocked, they're both -14, which against most of the casters hurts a lot, standing and from while standing. And the moves that I mostly use to approach is headbutt, quarter circle forward 1+2, which is +4 on block and +8 on hit. But this doesn't have a lot of tracking. What I like almost use every time is while standing 1. This is a 13 frame mid. This is +5 on block, has an extension, and is -1 on block, +5 on hit, which is very good, and it has huge range. But for instance, against Mishimas, they can just keep you out with electrics, and then you have to go to this, and if they block this, they can launch you if they're Kazuya, for instance. So he lacks that. He has down back 3, which has hits from range 2.7, and at max range it's only -14, but still, if you get this blocked, it hurts a lot. And down 2 has approximately the same range almost, but leaves you at -, so his approaching tools are not the best. His wire running 3 really sucks, with only being +6 and really weird animation, so don't use that too much. He has no good power crush, but he has decent evasive tools, and I use this at the wall sometimes. It's okay for that. You have to use a lot of moves to to make your opponent busy, which is a big misconception of the character in my opinion. I think if you just play his core with chip damage, very close to playing Lee, you can come very far. But online, if you use his whole bag of tricks, he's more effective. So you have to know all his options and kind of see what your opponent is doing. But that's a pro and a con in my opinion. And the last thing is, since his rage drive doesn't give you a full launch and his wall damage is not as big, his comeback ability is very limited. If you need cheesy damage, you almost have to refer to sidestep 4, which is telegraphed and very dangerous, or landing a counter hit with this. Counter hitting with this is okay, but if you need a big to make up a big lead, it's just not enough. So now with the new combos, his wall carry is actually decent, but with his wall game together, you can score easy comebacks at the wall, is what I'm trying to say. But in the open, it is difficult. And this rage drive, yeah, it's kind of meh. I score a lot of hits with this, and if they hit the wall, it's okay. But it could be on counter. If this gave a combo on counter, it would be so much better. So overall, I think Feng is one of the most of the characters that make the most fun for me, and I really think you should pick him up. And I will make a long series with this character because I have a lot that I want to teach you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up if you did, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.